Hello everyone, and welcome to another Honkai Star Rail video. Alright, so I have another Apocalyptic Shadow video for you guys today. And before we actually begin, I'm gonna quickly go over each character that I used on each node and the buffs as well for each node as well. Starting off with the first node, I decided to go with my Firefly team. Initially, I wanted to use Fei Xiao on this half because of the wind weakness on Cocolia as well as the increased follow-up attack damage for this particular season. But for the actual buffs that this node has, it doesn't really benefit that team in particular, so we decided to go with the Firefly team at the end. And for this team, I have Firefly, the Harmony Trailblazer, Ruan Mei, and surprisingly enough, Fu Xuan as the sustain. I'll go over why later on once I get into the gameplay, but long story short is, I needed a sustain. Fu Xuan's a pretty good tank. She's Quantum Element, and that's what the boss is weak to. She has that one instance of CC immunity, or hard CC immunity, which is definitely needed for this particular half because Cocolia has a lot of freezes and imprisons. And even with that one instance, it's not really enough to completely prevent Cocolia from CCing my team. She also is a really good target or meat shield in case Cocolia is going to imprison or freeze one of my teammates. If she takes the hit, she's definitely the best target out of all the teammates on my entire team. As for the buff, we went with the first one, which increases enemies' break damage taken and gives us a speed boost every time an enemy is weakness broken. As for the second node against the banana boss, we have our Acheron team, which actually features Acheron, Himiko making a surprise appearance, Pela as the debuffer and second Nihility character, and then we decided to take Gallagher as our sustain instead of Fu Xuan. The one issue with running Fu Xuan on this particular half that I've noticed is that she doesn't attack enough times and she doesn't have the speed needed to keep up with this particular boss's mechanics. This boss wants to get hit a lot so you can weakness break them more frequently. And that's something that Fu Xuan can't really do because my Fu Xuan's not really that fast, and if you do run like really fast Fu Xuan, maybe you can make it work, but even then that would be kind of skill point, not negative, but like neutral, because Fu Xuan doesn't really generate skill points as well as someone like Gallagher. And the fact that Gallagher can take multiple turns due to his ultimate advancing him forward, that also really helps out this team as well. I also initially ran this team with Sparkle instead of having a second DPS like Himiko, but I found out that the extra damage boost and even the advance forward doesn't really benefit defeating this boss, because this boss, like I said before, the main purpose is that you want to hit the boss a certain amount of times in order to weakness break him. And with Sparkle, you won't really be able to do that. However, with someone like Himiko or any other character that can do multiple attacks or follow-up attacks are also really good on this particular half, then you'll be able to weakness break the enemies much more frequently and faster. That's why Himiko actually works pretty well on this specific team. Not to mention, she also has a burn debuff on one of her traces, so that actually allows Acheron to gain more Crimson Knot stacks. Even if I think it's only 50%, but since she's doing AoE damage every time she attacks, the odds of you not landing it are pretty low. Anyways, moving on to the buff, we use the second one, which increases ultimate damage by all allies when enemies are weakness broken by 70%. This greatly boosts Acheron's damage, as well as it helps out Himiko a bit. Pela and Gallagher not so much, but they do have attacking ultimates, so it does help out a little bit for them as well. Alright, I think that's enough of my chatter. Let's get into the gameplay and commentary. Alright, so for the first half, we start off with the Trailblazer's technique, Ruan Mei's technique, Fu Xuan's, and then we initiate with Firefly's technique. Cocolia is going to summon two of these adds, Ice Swords, that will do AoE damage, as you'll see here shortly. Ruan Mei's turn, we immediately pop the ultimate. And honestly, it doesn't matter which one we hit, because it's not going to do much damage, 189. We're going to target Japard here, because I want to work on his toughness. And then we're going to pop Firefly's ultimate, along with the Trailblazer's ultimate. We're not actually going to try to weakness break anyone here, in this particular turn. We're just going to start working on Cocolia's toughness bar as well. Fu Xuan's going to hit that one ad over there that has the quantum weakness. And she's going to pop the ultimate here and weakness break it. And you'll see here shortly there's one freeze, but it's blocked by Fu Xuan's skill. And then there's the second freeze. Luckily, it targets Fu Xuan. That's why I said Fu Xuan's actually pretty good for this half. because not only can she weakness break the quantum weak enemies, she can also take some of the hits as well as the CC locks as well. Any other character, especially Firefly, I had a couple of runs where Firefly got frozen or imprisoned. Basically bricks the run. We get the reset here, and then now we're going to weakness break Cacalia. This will refresh our skill points as well as bring in a bunch of increased damage being dealt to Cacalia. And we're just going to try to focus her down here. Fu Xuan breaks out. There's the Trailblazer's ultimate. It's going to hit for close to 600k. We're just going to refresh the matrix here. Not so much for the crit rate, but more for the one instance of CC immunity. I guess the damage reduction as well. Although this team is pretty tanky, even without Fu Xuan's matrix. Not quite enough here to kill the boss. If it didn't land on Japard as many times, it might have, but just a little bit short. So we're just going to use the basic attack here on Firefly instead of the skill. On to the second phase. Just going to summon Icicles again. Fu Xuan's going to hit the Quantum Weak one here. Unfortunately, Firefly is going to exit the combustion state, so we're going to have to wait until she gets back into that form. Unfortunately, none of the mobs here are weak to Imaginary, so the Harmony Trailblazer actually doesn't do much other than providing Super Break with his ultimate. We're going to target the Fire Weak one. We are just a little bit short, and unfortunately the mobs did not hit Firefly, so we're going to have to wait until Firefly's turn again. Doesn't matter which one we hit. I think we just hit the one that's already weakness broken with Fu Xuan. Alright, now we're going to pop the ultimate immediately, advance forward. We're going to try to weakness break the other Icicles to the side. Get the refresh. Honestly, we should just be targeting Cacalia here, yep. And then planting the fire weakness. And then there's the... Oh! She resisted the freeze. Good job, Fu Xuan. Okay, just gonna basic here. Doesn't really matter. Here I don't try to weakness break the Adda side because I know my... what do you call it? One instance of her E2 is down, basically. Her passive for her E2. It's on cooldown. I'm going to refresh the matrix here. And then she's going to nuke us. Luckily, Fu Xuan's able to tank the majority of the damage. Pop all our ultimates here. Here I actually cannot... Oh, luckily Fu Xuan took the imprison for us. We cannot use the Trailblazer's skill here because we're going to run out of skill points. We need raw maze skill, so we just basic there. This will allow Firefly to reset here. Then we get another chance to weakness break, and this will proc the buff thing that we get, refreshing all our skill points and boosting our damage. Fu Xuan's finally back. We're gonna basic. And then by the time it's Firefly's turn, we should kill the boss. And there you have it. That's the first half. On to the second half, we just use Himiko's technique and we initiate the fight with Acheron's technique. Alright, so for this particular boss, here are the mechanics. Each one of these stupid banana things has like a fraction. It's like 2 out of 4, 0 out of 5, etc, etc. Those are the number of times you have to hit the enemy, or hit them. Once you reach like 4 out of 4, 3 out of 3, 5 out of 5, it will cause that enemy to become weakness broken. And another thing is, every time they take a turn, I believe they also remove the amount of times they get hit by 1. So like, for instance, those TVs in the middle, if I had gone for them or hit them, they would have removed one of the attack counts on them had they taken their turn. So you want to go for the enemies that are lower down at the what do you call it? The action value bar. So the ones that are the enemies that are slower, you want to weakness break those first. And that's the reason why Himeko, Gallagher, and even Pela, because these characters either have multiple hits in the form of follow-up attacks, they're either really fast, or they have attacking ultimates that actually deal damage, so you can increase the number of times these mobs are getting hit. So as you can see here, I am like specifically picking which enemies I hit in order to weakness break them. Here we're gonna pop Gallagher's ultimate, and we're gonna heal up our team as well. And we're gonna unleash Akron's ultimate along with Himeko's ultimate as well. Once all the enemies are weakness broken, it doesn't matter. All your attacks will weakness break the enemy. But once any of them get out of the weakness broken state, you won't be able to weakness break the enemy boss. As you can see, the toughness bar is locked. So you're going to have to go back to playing the game of hitting the enemies a certain amount of times before they are weakness broken. As you can see here, that one TV, I believe, lost, what do you call it, 1 point of getting hit, or 1 point of being hit once they took their turn, which is a bit unfortunate. I actually, looking back at this footage, I should have probably prioritized the other TV to the side, because you only need 3 hits on him, and the boss is almost weakness broken. It only takes 1 more hit from any of the mobs here to weakness break him. When he's weakness broken, we get skill points along with a huge buff. Energy regeneration, which is unfortunately wasted on Acheron there. And that's another thing why I don't think Harmony characters, specifically ones that don't attack very often, are good on this half. It's because the buffs they give you when the enemy boss is not weakness broken, they literally take almost no damage when they're not weakness broken. It's when they get to this weakness broken state is when they start taking damage. Like you saw earlier, my Acheron ult did about like 2 million because of the all the buffs she got from the enemies, as well as just the general buff you get from Apocalyptic Shadow. Here, right there is a 2.3 million damage when they're weakness broken. So all the advanced forwards from like Sparkle, Bronya, or even the new character Sunday, it's not going to boost your character's damage by a lot when they're all not weakness broken in this particular state. Alright, here's the second half. I'm going to pop the ultimate. This will add 1 count to all of them. So we're going to, I believe, go for the TV here, because we still got Gallagher, and then Acheron can take a turn as well. We also have Pela's ultimate coming up. So that's another action or another attack count towards the mobs. Hit this one. I believe I hit the middle banana here, because the ultimate's going to weakness break the other one to the left here. We weakness break 2 of them here. Luckily, the energy goes to 2 characters that can actually use the energy regen. I get a bit unlucky here because he hit Himeko, and I actually thought this run was bricked because we're about to take a lot of damage. And Himeko's pretty much all but dead, but luckily we still have Gallagher's healing from his ultimate, and Pela got to take his turn here, or her turn here. So Himeko's going to unleash her follow-up attack, and that should heal her up to pretty much full HP. Yep, pretty much full HP. I decided to play it safe here and heal my Acheron, because she is below 50% and she has a burn debuff on her, so I don't want her potentially dying. So we decide to do that. Everyone's advanced forward once again. Here I'm trying to pick which one is the best one. We weakness break the main mob. Gives us an attack boost. Here I know I'm going to get a follow-up attack, so we go for these mobs here. Follow-up attack, it will weakness break them as well. And they're fully weakness broken. This is where all our damage is going to come in. So here is Himeko's ultimate. And take a look how much damage that does. 250k. Followed by 130k follow-up attack. And then Acheron's ultimate is going to do over 2 million here. Yeah, easily does over 2 million. Or I guess barely 2 million, but you get the idea. So that's why, like I said, bringing specific Harmony characters that don't really do a lot of attack instances isn't really going to benefit your run on this particular half. So it's better just to bring someone like Himiko or any other secondary DPS that can dish out a lot of extra attacks. And here we should finish off the boss with Acheron's ultimate. Boom! And there you go. That is the second half. Finish both sides with 72,000 as our score. Alright, let me quickly go over my characters and their builds, starting off with Firefly. These are her stats. Lycone is on the Fall of an Aeon at S5. Traces, all but maxed out except for her basic. These are her relics, pretty much the same as before. I was tempted to run attack boots, but did some calculations. She would have actually less break effect than if I ran the speed boots, believe it or not. As for Eidolon, she's at Eidolon 2. Alright, next is the Harmony Trailblazer, aka me. These are his stats. Lycone is Memories of the Past at S3. Traces. I'm a little bit reluctant to max out his ultimate since we are getting the Remembrance MC coming soon, so I may or may not be using the Harmony Trailblazer anymore once we get Fugue, which is the next upcoming limited banner. These are his relics. Eidolons, he's at Eidolon 6. Alright, next is Ruan Mei. These are her stats. Lycone is Dance 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 at S4. Traces. Relics, I put her back on the 4-piece Hacker Space set just because I figured a little extra speed might help. But we don't really need the extra break effect since our team doesn't benefit from the damage boost on her skill. Eidolon, she's at Eidolon 0. And finally, last for the first half is Fu Xuan. I did a funky build you'll see in a moment after I go through her stats here. I don't think it made any difference. I could have just ran her normal gear and I think we would have scored pretty much the same. Lycone is Trend of the Universal Market. I usually have this on her because I pair her mostly with Acheron. Although if I wanted to, I could have swapped her out for either Japard's Lycone or this particular Lycone. Those are good alternatives as well. But I was just too lazy to take this Lycone off. Traces, very underinvested, but probably won't invest in them anymore. I think they're good enough at this point. And these are her relics. I decided to run a quote-unquote break effect, what do you call it, Fu Xuan. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it really made much of a difference, but I had some pieces here with a lot of HP and some decent break effect, and I figured since I'm running her on the break effect team, she might do a little bit extra damage with this 2-piece break effect X set and the 2-piece HP set. So I don't know. I honestly don't think it made much of a difference though. As for Eidolon, she's at Eidolon 0. Okay, on to my second team, starting off with Acheron. These are her stats. Lycone is her signature at S1. Trace is maxed out except for the basic. Relics are pretty much the same. I only changed a few pieces, particularly I think this one and her boots. I basically made her a 134 speed Acheron instead of base speed. Normally I run base speed Acheron when I pair her with someone like Sparkle, but since we don't have Sparkle on this particular team, I needed her to be at least a little bit faster than normal. She can't be base speed, that would be way too slow. She wouldn't generate enough Crimson Knot stacks. As for Eidolon, she's at Eidolon 2. Alright, next is my Himiko, who made a surprise appearance. I'm pretty satisfied with what she did. Her performance was pretty damn solid. I'm very glad that I'm able to actually use Himiko outside of pure fiction nowadays. It really just shows that a character that was considered like average or even below average in the beginning of the game is now one of the better standard characters that you could actually use in particular lineups. Very happy that I got use out of Himiko. This is her Lycone, Series of Breakfast at S5. There are definitely better options, but I had this built all the way back when I was using Serval, and this is just sort of a hand-me-down Lycone that Himeko is currently using. Traces, she definitely needs more investment, missing some of the major trace nodes, and her follow-up attack, which is her trace, her most important skill in my opinion, is not maxed out. These are her relics. She's on a 4-piece Grand Duke set, the follow-up attack set. I don't quite have the Planar Sphere set built up for her yet, so we're just using a broken piece. But this piece right here, oh my god, this rolled pretty much almost perfect, except for the one flat attack. But with the upcoming 3.0 patch, we can actually change the substat rolls on our relics. So I might actually end up improving this to become basically a perfect planar sphere for Himeko particularly. There's a link rope. Also, I decided to run a base speed or close to base speed Himeko instead of a speed Himeko because I figured that the majority of the hits were going to be done by Pela and Gallagher, so I just wanted Himeko's follow-up attacks to hit as hard as humanly possible. So running her on attack boots seemed like the best solution instead of speed boots. As for Eidolon, she's at Eidolon 0. Alright, next is Pela. These are her stats. Lycone is the sweaty Lycone at S3. I still can't believe after playing for all these years, or it's almost been 2 years now. We're about to hit 2 years once we reach 2025. I still don't have a Super Imposition level 5 sweaty Lycone, which is one of the best 4-star Lycones you can get in the game. Ripperoni. These are our traces. Relics are potato relics. I just didn't even bother with the sets other than the speed set because I was like, all Pela really needs is speed, a certain amount of effect hit rate, and some decent bulk. So we got it with all these random pieces that were lying around. So there you go. There's my Pela. Eidolon, she's at Eidolon 6. Alright, last but not least, for sure, is Gallagher. These are his stats. Lycone is post-op conversation at S5. Normally I like to run him on Quid Pro Quo, but for this particular team, since Acheron doesn't use energy, and the other characters on my team have fairly low energy costs, or they generate energy really fast, aka Pela, she generates energy like crazy. So I figured that Lycone wouldn't be as useful. Instead, this particular Lycone gives him energy regeneration rate, so he himself will be able to pop his ultimate more often, which also allows for more hits on the enemies. Like I said before, hitting the enemies a certain amount of times is the key to scoring high on that second boss, the banana boss. So I figured this Lycone would benefit him a lot more in this particular fight. These are his traces. I could put a little bit more investment if I want to, or I'm gonna have to wait for the double drop then. These are his relics, 2-piece speed, 2-piece break effect, and then his planar sphere is the, I don't want to pronounce that, I'm just gonna call it the Firefly set. And then his Eidolons, he's at Eidolon 6. Alrighty guys, well that's gonna be it for this Honkai Star Rail video. If you guys enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in my next Honkai Star Rail video. Until then, take care, and peace.
Existence as fleeting as the dawn's dew, destined for oblivion. I weep for the departed. Dusk springs, it too shall